The Texas area for $150,000, will a 20% deposit would be $30,000 afterwards. First investment, you could possibly rent that residential or commercial property for say $1,200 as well as $50 a month, which every single year we'll be bringing you about $14,400 in rental income. You would have a home mortgage of around $120,000 at a 3.1% interest rate that exercises to about $510 per month in costs. As well as you possibly intend to have a pillow for various other type of regular monthly expenditures like tax obligations and also insurance coverage maintenance. It's capex as well as maybe job. So all in those costs could total around an additional $500 monthly. So in addition to our home mortgage, our total expenditures are around $1,000. Yet if your rent is $1,250, that suggests you're profiting $250 per month on the rental revenue. Not only that, you're most likely to be developing a lot of equity in your house, and with the manner in which the property rates look like these days, you're also most likely to be ideally catching a great deal of admiration over the next 10 or 2 decades. Currently, the most significant concern I see with rental real estate is that it takes a large quantity of funding get started. In our sample, it still took a $30,000 deposit. In addition, you're going to pure fact or pure play off in fact or owing them out to row. Also has a complete listing of vehicles that are one of the most lucrative, and also they also calculated out for you just how swiftly you can break even on a monthly payment, which I believed was rather trendy, as well as I'll share that link for you men in the summary listed below. An additional alternative, if you have a camera, is that you can submit your images onto Supply Digital Photography websites like Shutterstock.com. And basically you can obtain a passive revenue aristocracy whenever someone downloads your image, that or you can simply rent out your camera. Their websites, like ShareGrid.com, that enable you to rent your video camera devices, and also theirs is a substantial need for it because of how costly digital photography devices is. The second technique I have for you guys is to make easy revenue through stocks as well as returns. As well as this can actually be a very real type of passive earnings. Hear me out. So, a reward is a section of revenue that's gone back to you by the firm that you invest in for simply owning one share of their company. So allows state, you get stock in Home Depot, and Home Depot today is supplying regarding a 2% returns yield, so for every single $100 that you have bought House Depot, you can anticipate concerning $2 back. Share that you like a money-making machine. So, allows get right into it now. Before we begin, only a little portion of my viewer are really subscribed. So if you do wind up enjoying this content, make certain to subscribe, it's cost-free. And also you can constantly alter your mind. So the very first method to make passive income is maximizing what you currently have. Currently, this isn't going to be 100% entirely passive, especially at the start. Yet let's state, you own something like a residence and auto. Maybe you have the civil liberties to photos or music, or possibly you have some electronic camera devices. What you can do is lease it out. If you have a spare bedroom, you can list it on the Airbnb place type. And also, since the pandemic is gradually concerning an end, we're most likely to see that activity for Airb's choice up throughout the summer. If you have a cars and truck that you don't use that typically, Toro.com is a terrific area to lease your vehicle, that in fact offers you the same kind of experience or the exact same type of vibe that Airbnb does. Yet simply for your autos, allows say you have a Jeep, you can be renting out that out on Tor.com, depending upon your city for as much as $100 per day, as well as some people have even reached it. Simply obtain leases on Jeeps or various other sorts of cars simply for profit margin has to do with $100 each day. Currently, you do not have to use posters. You can essentially set this up for any type of item out there. For example, if you intended to market candles, you can order 1,000 candles from a maker and also simply deliver them to what's called a 3 plural. A 3 place is a third-party satisfaction center, which will allow you to basically package and deliver those items straight to consumers without you having to exist. Currently, this will not take you 20+ years to generally create concerning $100 a day in easy earnings. You can get there much faster. Yet the issue is that it's most likely to take a great deal of work up front and also a great deal of finding out up front to arrive. However, when you have those discovering establishing added additional services to get you that $100 per day, is most likely to be pretty easy. If this were a video clip concerning side hustles out, absolutely checklist running an online business is one of my top rushes for that sort of video. The following passive income technique is rental, realty as well as getting rental income through that. Rental real estate. Now, this is among the assets that's exceptionally hard to get your hands on. Once you do get your hands on the numbers and also the math behind, it can be pretty. Going with instance, if you got a house every single year currently to make $100 each day through returns. That has to do with $36,500 per year. So if a reward on average pays between 2 and also 5%, we are mostly likely to require a lot of capital saved up actually. Also at 5%, the minimal balance that you would certainly need is around $730,000. That's not constantly simple. So what I would actually suggest doing is that you invest consistently and also constantly, and also if you can take a part of your income, every income, and sock it away, either in supplies or dividends that are paying you a decent return, you might possibly reach this number a lot quicker than you visualized. It ends up being a little bit much more feasible when you're investing in something with a greater return. So for instance, the S&P 500 index fund returns about an 8% ordinary each year, and index is like the S&P 500. So if you invested $1,000 into an S&P 500 index fund, that $1,000 would be distributed amongst 500 of the leading US companies weighted by just how big those businesses are. So you in fact get 2% of Apple, 2% of Microsoft, 2% of Amazon, and so forth etc. down the checklist of 500 ideal companies. As an example, if you invested $500 a month and you've got an return, and also you did that each and every single year, well, in concerning 29 years, that $500 a month would gradually get you to $700 and also $30,000 in capital. However, the concept is that there's a big community individuals that think if they can conserve even more of the difference between their revenue and also their expenditures and also invest it all into, let's claim, the S&P 500, after that they can get to this magic number even faster. The positive side below is that investing in index funds and dividend-paying stocks can really be completely easy. So a great deal of individuals can just park their money into an index fund and also basically neglect it, and it is among the very best ways to in fact build your wealth, so much to ensure that Warren Buffett generally advocates it every time for ordinary financiers. If you have an interest in entering into return supplies or index funds, you can buy them on brokerages like Fidelity, Altruistic, Webull or Public. As well as if you desire some links to some cost-free stocks, utilizing those broker agents, you can utilize the links down below in the description for that. Alright, the next approach to obtain around $100 daily in passive earnings is actually starting an on the internet organization, and out of all the options available today, I would claim this set is possibly the hardest, but in fact most likely be the simplest to reach $100 each day. This is something I've done directly with MatthewKnight.com. If you are able to do it right currently, I've established the whole production process of that site to ensure that it's totally hands-off and also works on its own essentially. My internet site enables people to order a personalized celebrity map of the stars on what they appear like on the day they suggested or special event, and when somebody goes and sees my internet site, they tailor an order, as well as once they place that order, it in fact gets directed to a printing capability in middle of America. And also from there, the printing center takes care of the remainder. They plan, they ship it, as well as they obtain it throughout customer at that point. The important things that I are accountable for is getting traffic to the website, to primarily get even more orders, as well as also support. So any type of customer support that's required. Currently, fortunately, both of those points can also be outsourced. Now, if you're able to set the appropriate systems in place, this running an online company kind of point can be totally hands-off, which is one of the wonderful things about having an online company. Once every week, I just go in there as well as sign in on exactly how it's doing, and also, every single day it creates concerning $300 in sales with Hey. What's up individuals? I'm totally free below today. We're discussing passive revenue and how you can potentially make $100 per day in 7 various methods. The funny aspect of easy income is that hardly ever is it in fact completely easy. It takes a great deal of operate at the start to type of get it going, and the entire objective of having passive income is to get to a factor where you're not trading your time for money. The easiest instance I can sort of consider right now, off the top of my head, is, let's say you're taping musician like I don't recognize. Taylor Swift. Whenever you listen to a Taylor Swift track, play in your outlet store or your food store, she's not really there performing the song, yet she's still making money on those royalties. Although, that would be sweet to have Taylor Swift sing at your local department store. The possibilities of that are possibly 1 in a million and even millions, and also the possibilities of you making cost-free passive income are basically no too. There's no such thing as free passive income. So if you ever do see and obtain abundant quick kind of plan, do not fall for that. So that's kind of what passive income is to me. The even more time that you invest up front to get it going, the much more that it's going to settle for you over time, which is really awesome. It's to have good credit score as well as an ongoing earnings to sustain the home loan payments. According to Morgan Stanley, the majority of millionaires in fact called realty as one of the most popular different property by a broad margin, which makes good sense to me. Realty normally offers some defense against inflation, since if there's a lot of money being pumped into the economy, there's a limited amount of land available. So if you do have some land, the prices of that land are going to value as even more money enters into the system. Currently I make $100 daily, day in easy earnings. With realty, it's most likely to take a great deal of job. You're going to have to acquire a great deal of buildings, but you can obtain it to a place where you don't also have to manage anything due to the fact that you can work with home managers to do it for you. If you're young and also you're obtaining right into earning cash as well as investing, owning an actual estate, rental, residential or commercial property ought to be in your long-lasting websites. We wish to have properties that are valuing gradually as well as property definitely has stood the test of time of appreciation, as well as most people in fact state it is just one of the very best means to be well off. So instead of buying decreasing possessions like designer handbags or elegant automobiles, to buy valuing possessions due to the fact that those are the assets are going to money your passive way of life later in life. Currently, the next technique of easy revenue is in fact a property investment trust. So if you want to enter property exposure yet you do not have enough money to get involved in rental property, you can acquire what's called a REIT. Now checks out, you can get on the stock market. Prices are teams of investors that invest in industrial, residential or commercial properties as well as they accumulate that rental earnings. You can have a REIT that's focused on retail malls. For example, Simon Property Group has a lot of shopping malls and also it's a sort of REIT. You can have a redouble, an apartment, a REIT concentrated on medical care facilities. Legitimately, REITs are needed to pay 90% of their revenue as dividends back to their investors. So if you do have a REIT, then you're most likely to be getting that dividend income. Some of the most prominent courses include Realty Earnings Firm, with a dividend return of around 4.3%, or Simon Residential or Commercial Property Group, like I discussed earlier, has a return of 4-factor to 6%, and by having these checks out, you're also really recording any kind of admiration on the underlying investment itself as well. Since a great deal of these reefs were struck hard throughout COVID. Today, thanks to the cloud as well as open resource, modern technology startups can scale quickly with minimal capital investment, yet they might not have to take care of restricted framework financial investment because of reduced rate of interest. Price startups have plentiful accessibility to capital, which we have not seen for a very long time. Now, allows talk about just how business are completing software program is playing a leading duty in technology innovations. It has no benefaction cost. It is conveniently distributable and made use of on billions of devices. It is easily updated and also boosted. Well-known companies can capitalize on this brand new standard. As quickly as startups, business should recognize that the value of intellectual property is higher as a shared property, since it speeds up the speed of progression in the sector. In its entirety, we see open communities when it pertains to software-defined networks. We see significant players in the automobile market making a patents offered for bona fide to make use of. We see large recognized modern technology companies opening their chip designs developed business. Should remember that interruptions develop new leaders, which subsequently produces a better feeling of necessity for current as well as past leaders to transform. Disturbances are a possibility, if went after proactively today, and smart executives identify that. In contrast, If you disregard today, these opportunities will come to be significant obstacles of tomorrow, and then you will certainly be chasing these disturbances from behind versus leveraging.